is not working today. Really not working today. Try that again. I don't know what I'm doing. We actually live this time. It's the real question. I cannot refresh. There we go. It's on. We're working. We're working. Yay. Save the playlist. I want to save this to short stories and more. Yep. You want to share this? Tweet it. How are you supposed to... Nope. Other way around. There we go. I'm annoyed when it does that. Well, a comma, and I gotta make sure I'm grammarly correct. We good. Cool. Yeah. I'm streaming a little earlier because I don't know whether or not Netty will be streaming at noon. So a little earlier, but if not, that's fine. Okay. Well, I was going to plan, but I'm gonna wait a little bit for people to come in if people want to come in. Return is here. Yeah. If you haven't read the first one, they're all video form, and yeah. There are 4 videos, and yeah, about at least 20 minutes long. I haven't had my lunch yet anyway, so yeah. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Also let me know to see if things are working like they should. So far, so good. Back a little bit. There. Shouldn't fall. A little light there. Hidden. Should probably get started though. Chapter 1, or yeah, whatever. Basically all my things are the same layout that I did on the other one, just organized it a little different. It's a little shorter than the first one, but it's long enough to read any stream. I am pretty hungry. Netty. Basically, this is a continuation, continuation of the story that was told in the previous story. How do I summarize it? Basically, there was this strange man who had sort of power. I was connected to some sort of gem around his neck, and he Netty and Martyn and Jimmy went after her, and got it back, and they managed to stop him. Well, at least destroyed the gem and incinerated its body pretty much. I don't say that outright, but that big flash, white light, kind of. Big. Yeah. Let's continue. It was a calm and peaceful day in a small cottage in the woods. The sky was a clear blue, with the sun shining high in the sky. Perhaps it was mid-afternoon, and everything seemed pretty normal. Months had passed since Netty and her friends had gone off into an alternate world or dimension other than their own. Well, technically, she hadn't gone willingly, since some crazy man had thought it would be a good idea to come into her room in the middle of a stormy night and kidnap her. Both of her friends had gone to great lengths to try and get her back. She was glad for that. But she wasn't thinking about what she had been through in that other world, where magical powers existed from the power source, a gem that was strung around one's neck. Netty's was a purple amethyst, while her friends owned a green emerald, Martyn, and a golden opal, Jimmy, respectively. It made sense. For all they knew, there was nothing magical about where they lived. They had a cottage deep in the woods, a few miles away from the nearest town. No one except them and maybe a mysteriously suspicious librarian knew about this strange alternate world. And she was okay with that. But right now, none of that was really important. She was home with her friends, where she belonged. Everything was as it was supposed to be. And that was a good thing. After all, she had slightly better things to do than think about the world they had left behind. I tended to do. As that thought crossed her mind, she pulled out another weed that was threatening to choke the life and nutrients out of the nearby plant. She tossed the weed's stalk and roots and all, into a nearby bin and wiped a little bit of sweat off her brow. She had probably been doing this for a little over an hour now, and she was about halfway done. After the events that had occurred months ago, Netty had decided to start a small garden to keep herself occupied. Though she wasn't the best at taking care of it, at least it was something to do. I don't know. You gotta make a story somehow. But as she tried to pull out another stubborn weed, a shiver crept up and down her spine as a cold breeze washed over her. Netty sat up straight and looked around, wondering where it had come from. Had someone passed her and left a cool draft in their wake? It was a relatively warm day, and the air had been still for most of her time out here. After a few moments of sitting there uneasily, she shook it off and turned back to the weed, attempting to tear it out with her hands, which were in gardening gloves. But after her third tug, she suddenly felt something different in the air. Something cold and menacing, as if someone was watching her. But that couldn't be possible. They had defeated the strange man who wanted to use her to be the most powerful being in that alternate world. Her friends had assured her that he was gone. His gem had disappeared, and they assumed his body had disintegrated as well. Never assume things. Nothing had been left of him. Right? Hello? Who's there? She called, looking over her shoulder towards the edge of the clearing where the forest of trees began. Nothing. She was alone. Out here. Her friends were still inside, probably doing other things to keep themselves busy. The silence grew more and more as she gave up on the weed, letting its half-broken stalk fall to the ground, looking withered and injured. Broken. Her mind raced as she tried to decide what she should do. Part of her wanted to go back into the house and stay with one of her friends. She knew either Martyn or Jimmy wouldn't mind her hanging out with them, but she just wasn't sure what to do. She took a deep breath as she tried to reassure herself that she was only imagining things. The man was gone. There was nothing left of him. He couldn't hurt her or her friends anymore. She had to try one last thing, just to be sure. "I'm not afraid of you," her mind shouted, reverberating through her mind as like an echo. Part of her hoped she wouldn't hear anything back. It was all truly just in the figment of her imagination. But before she could feel certain that it was, she heard a cold whisper in the back of her mind. "I haven't forgotten about you," it said with a cold jingle as it sent a shiver up down her spine. How? She swallowed, at a loss for words. The man had been one of the few that could read her thoughts, other than her friends. There was no reply to her question, only cold laughter as that dissolved away, leaving without a trace. Jimmy. Jimmy was sitting by the fireplace in the main room, or also known as the living room, but I like calling it the main room. Cleaning out the ashes that had been left over from the previous night. It wasn't something that he enjoyed doing, but it certainly did need to be done. The sun was shining through the window that opened up to the outdoors. The window was slightly open, letting in the fresh midsummer breeze. It was very much welcomed, though this little cottage probably would look doubly better if there were flowers from their trip to the other world outside as well. It was pretty. But as hard as they all tried, the flowers and other plants didn't seem to like the idea of growing the way they wanted them to. My tweet said, "Wow, that's fun." Technically, my tweet never sent. Never sent. My tweet never sent. My tweet never sent. Wow. Don't you get that? Well, technically, none of it's really important. You got my medical one, my other stuff. Yeah, medical. Not that I need to show you. If you've noticed this thing, probably already know. Eesh, I opened settings when I didn't mean to do so. It's annoying. The face, my face. It just keeps popping up. And it won't go away. It won't go away. Is it gonna open up to the right one, or do I have to recreate it? Yep, it's opening up there. Okay. Okay, we're good. Finally said. Oh, yo. I'm getting another bite. went a little too far. Perfect. Mm. Jimmy shook his head and smiled as he tossed another pile of ash into another bin, unable to keep himself from thinking about the other world they'd been 2 months ago. It had been a beautiful place full of flowers, trees, and a very nice old man named John. Sure, they didn't know if anyone else lived there. There probably was. But maybe they'd try to explore a little more if they ever went to visit. It would be fun. As Jimmy continued his work, which was almost done, he could hear footsteps behind him, coming from the kitchen. Jimmy turned to see Martyn, tall man with bright blonde hair and piercing blue eyes, entering the room. We all know. The young man smiled at his friend and gave him a cheerful greeting. Looks to me you're nearly done with that, Martyn mused. Need any help with the firewood I got this morning? No, I think I can handle a bundle or two, Jimmy said with a shrug. So, we're really doing this tonight? Of course. There's no better night to just have fun with friends, Martyn managed to smile. I have a hunch you and Netty are more than just friends, Jimmy muttered with a chuckle. I don't think she's seen that yet. You have to note I did reset the relationship a little. It's easier. It's easier and fun. I also did that with the clockwork play. I never said they would. I never said they would. But if I were, I would do that. Too. Just a little bit. Yeah. I don't think she's seen that yet, Martyn said. You and I both care about her and want the best for her. And giving her this after everything all of us have been through felt right. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, she definitely has been through a lot. More than we have, Jimmy admitted. Exactly, Martyn agreed. I want to tell her how much I want to be with her, but, I don't want to do it if you're not happy. Jimmy snorted with laughter. You're kidding me, Martyn. Of course I'm good with it. In fact, I was wondering when you two were going to figure it out. Martyn chuckled. Really? Your connection with her is far stronger than mine, Jimmy pointed out. You knew just what you needed to do to find her. If it weren't for that, we'd still be wandering around, not having any idea where our friend was. Yeah, you're right, Martyn agreed. But she's still your friend. So are you. That's not going to change anytime soon, Jimmy said confidently. We do this together, true, but I don't want to be the one keeping the both of you apart, if that's what you want. Right, Martyn nodded, looking over at his friend with understanding and relief. Well, I best get a few other things done before tonight, then. You'll do great, I know it, Jimmy said with a grin. Hopefully you're right, Martyn said. The last thing any of us need is something to go wrong. Nothing will go wrong that we can't make right again, Jimmy pointed out, as Jim Martyn headed back toward the kitchen. The young man watched as his friend gave him one last smile before disappearing around the last corner. Jimmy tossed the last of the ashes in the bin and shoved it back into the corner before standing up. He headed towards the small cupboard where the brand new bundles of wood would be found as he opened it and grabbed a bundle to put in the fireplace. But as he was starting to walk back, the front door opened and Netty walked inside. She was much shorter than the both of them, with straight, shoulder-length brown hair. But the look in her deep brown eyes seemed to suggest that something didn't go right. "You look tired," Jimmy said simply. "Did the gardening take some of the energy out of you?" "Yeah, I guess," she said with a shrug. There was no smile, no sign of a greeting, just a distant look in her eyes that the young man couldn't quite place. "Maybe you should rest up. Martyn and I have a special surprise for you later tonight, remember?" "I remember," she nodded, managing a small smile. It looked sad and pitiful as she walked into the hallway, turning to her room to go to her room. Jimmy looked in the direction she had gone and back at the door, and to the door, which had been left open. There was an uneasy feeling creeping through him. He shook his head, unsure if he should try to talk to her or not. Maybe she was just tired and needed some alone time. They weren't too far off if she needed them. That was for sure. Martyn. There's really nothing there. You're mostly seeing just my emergency card, my medical card. I still carry it around just in case my bracelet isn't enough. Hours had passed as the afternoon turned into evening. Martyn was outside with Jimmy setting up the table for the three of them, though Jimmy was planning to do the job of the waiter and host for them. "You sure this will be enough?" Martyn asked his friend curiously. "It's the thought that counts," Jimmy replied. "Besides, it does look nice." You wasn't wrong. In the middle of the lawn of green grass, there was a table with a white cloth on it. The center of the table were 3 candles, one purple, one green, and one yellow, just like the gems that they wore around their necks. It was a symbol of their friendship, and a touching detail as well. There were also some flowers strung around the branches of the trees, and a few candles that lit the area with a soft glow. The stars were just beginning to come out as the young man looked up at the night sky, just about seeing a full moon starting to rise. a perfect night, something as perfect as this. Think we're just about done here, Jimmy said with a smile. Should I go get Netty then? Martyn asked. Yeah, she should be in her room, Jimmy said casually. She decided to take a quick nap this afternoon. Is everything okay? Martyn asked with unease. Jimmy shrugged. I'd like to think she was just tired, but I'm not sure. I'll check on her to see if she's up for it, Martyn said. I'll be waiting right here for you two then, Jimmy said with a small grin on his face. Yeah, I guess you will. Martyn chuckled as he went back towards the cottage to retrieve his friend. Alright, but I'm gonna make you a little more hungry. Maybe not. Maybe not. If you are getting hungry, I apologize. It didn't take him long to get into the cozy cottage and walk down the hallway until he was right in front of her door. He couldn't help but remember months earlier when he'd come to give Netty some food after feeling tired. It had been that night when she'd been abducted, and he'd been unable to stop it. He wouldn't let that happen again. Something like this was concerning. Martyn knocked on the door gently, waiting for a response. First, there was nothing. He tried again, and he heard a soft voice on the other side of the door. He could hear footsteps coming to the door, and the door opened, revealing Netty in a midnight blue dress. Ah, pretty. The amethyst gem gleaming at yourself, she said with a chuckle. Martyn smiled in return. Jimmy's waiting for us outside, the man offered a hand. The man said, offering a hand. You ready? Ready as I'll ever be, she said with a sigh. Martyn nodded as she grabbed his hand, and they walked down the hallway and out the front door. And the young man was happy to hear the gasp of amazement from his friend. Did you do this? She asked, and as Jimmy bounded gracefully toward them. We thought you'd like this, Martyn replied as Jimmy gave them a genuine bow. Genuine. Would you like me to take you to your seats? Jimmy asked matter-of-factly. Yes, please. Yes, please. Wow. Not the first time and not the last, Martyn said as they followed Jimmy to the table that was set up for them, with plates and utensils waiting for them. Martyn watched as Jimmy pulled out a chair for Netty to sit down, which she did without hesitation, as Martyn went to sit down as well, across from his friend. Martyn couldn't believe just how beautiful she looked under the candlelight. Oh, this is so nice of you guys, Netty said with amazement. You really didn't have to do this. Just because we didn't have to doesn't mean we can't do it, Martyn said told her with a smile. Why? She asked. Well, Martyn said slowly, trying to find the words he needed. It's because, we did it because we care about you. That's nice, she said with a smile. I'm going to leave the two of you here while I get some food ready, Jimmy said, giving Martyn a wink. If you don't mind. Of course we don't mind, Martyn said. What are we having? Netty asked. That's a surprise, ma'am, Jimmy said with a laugh as he trotted off towards the cottage. Ma'am? Martyn watched as the young man disappeared into the building before looking over to Netty. The still silence of the night was peaceful, and the sweet scent from the candlelight seemed to make all of this just a bit more perfect. So, what do you want to talk about? Martyn asked slowly, trying his best not to show just how nervous he was. I don't know, she said with a shrug. But tonight does seem awfully beautiful. Did you plan this? The weather just happened to be, on our side, in our favor tonight. Martyn chuckled. Though we could have easily changed up the main room if the weather was iffy. I appreciate the effort, Netty said as she shifted her gaze away from him and looked over towards the woods, her calm amazement slowly turning to unease. The smile she had been giving for the first 5 minutes since he'd gone to get her was gone. All that was left with an expression that he couldn't quite piece together. Is there something wrong? Martyn asked her, putting his hand into hers. She chuckled slightly, but didn't pull away. I'm fine. It's just been a long day, she said. I don't want it to ruin this night, though. We can always do this another night if you're not up to it, Martyn said quickly. She shook her head and smiled. There might not be a chance like this again. You obviously came here to tell me something. You girls know. Really? How can you be sure I didn't just do this to be nice? Martyn asked slowly. You've gone far beyond what was necessary, Netty replied softly. Because I care about you, Martyn replied softly. Maybe more than just a friend. Another smile crept up onto her face. This time, it was a genuine one. They sat there for a long moment in silence. Martyn waited for her to say something, or for Jimmy to come with the food. This still moment seemed to feel like a fantasy, like it wasn't real. Yet, it was. He knew it because he was sitting right here across from the woman of his dreams. Netty Martyn started ready to explain just how he really felt about her, how much he truly wanted to be with her forever, but before he could, a fierce wind blew into the clearing and snuffed out every single candle surrounding them until they plummeted into darkness. Only the stars, only the stars and the moon were the light sources they had. Excuse me. He looked around. Not again. Not again. It's not a really good day. No, it's a better day. Turn it slightly so we get away from the light. Ha ha! He looked around, waiting for his eyes to adjust to the darkness, as he heard a sharp gasp come from his friend. He looked over to her and saw the expression of horror and shock. Shifted his gaze over to where she was looking, and he could see a tall figure approaching them, hidden by the shadows. The temperature seemed to plummet a few degrees. A shiver crawled up and down his spine. Someone was here, and they didn't seem to like the idea of their romantic dinner. But who? Why? Yum yum. Not sponsored. Let me put back in my retainers. They don't hinder my talking as much anymore, so. They glow in the dark too to help me see if I move them. Color green. I also have a purple one in my backpack. And there's darker green up there. Don't have a yellow one. But it's really close. Woo! Well, welcome to my life. Netty. No. It couldn't be. This wasn't impossible. This was impossible. That's the word. This had to be a dream. A nightmare. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be. But she knew better than that. She heard his thoughts in her head. Had been unable to rest because of the images in her mind. The explosion of light. The scream. The shattering of the gem that the man had worn around his neck. The source of power was gone. He was still seeking more power. Seeking revenge. He'd come back for her. He'd come back. She could feel herself shaking as the figure approached them. She was still holding Martyn's hand in her own, hoping he could see what she saw. This couldn't be happening. Yet it was. That thought had sent dread through her. As she tried to find something, anything to do. Looks like I've arrived just in time for the party. Oh, welcome to the party. Oh, I'm making it really interesting. No, don't do that. No. A voice spoke from the figure. It wasn't the voice she knew so well. She confused her. The voice was higher, less deep, but still just as cold and hard. What do you want? Martyn demanded, getting to his feet as if he was preparing to lunge at the man if he tried anything. But her mind was still going through this. Too shocked to put all the pieces together. What do you think I want? Dear little friend took all I had from me. The voice snapped. She stole my power, disintegrated my body, destroyed my chances of being the most powerful being in the world with her by my side. She may have destroyed me, but she did not defeat me. But I thought, she started, hating how her voice shook. Her friends had told her that he would go on, told her that he would never come back. You underestimated me, Netty, the voice said with a chuckle. After my body was proven useless and my power smashed, I went in search for someone to take control. And luckily for me, plenty to choose from. She swallowed, crept into her mind. All of his victims for her? Oi, oi, oi. Before her had been shattered and broken until they had no choice but to surrender to him. She should have seen it. She shouldn't have been so naive to think that the man could find a way to return to haunt her. You'll have to get through me first, Martyn said with defiance. Oh, I have a far better idea, the man said darkly, as his hands lifted, raising the shadows from around him. Just surrender now, my dear. There won't be any pain. Stay away from me and my friends. Ah! She demanded, gaining what little courage she had. She was stronger now, braver. This man wouldn't break her, as he had so many others. She wasn't afraid of him. Not this time. You'll regret what you did, Netty, the man said, his voice distorting into garbled laughter. You'll wish you did what you had been told. Rather than what I'm planned for you, I planned for you. Not afraid of you, she shouted. Ah, but you are. I feel the fear wafting off the both of you. If you really do care about each other as much as you claim, do anything for them. Wouldn't you? You know nothing, Martyn snapped, stepping in front of... Don't you do that again. Netty, who was still seated at the table, afraid to stand and risk falling over. She felt lightheaded and dizzy. She didn't have any way to defend herself, any way to stop this. The thoughts seeped into her mind as she tried to block them out. But the harder she tried, the faster they came. I knew far more about your petty idea of love than you realize. The man said with a laugh as the shadows hurtled towards them and she screamed, feeling the cold wash over her and seep into her skin as she heard Martyn calling out to her. She could feel herself falling to what felt like an abyss, until she hit the ground, screaming before it was still. She remembered nothing more. The whole world went black. Jimmy. Oh, poor Jimmy. Nom 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 nom. I'm gonna put this in here because I'm gonna throw it away anyway. Jimmy took his time getting the food ready, as he tried to give his friends enough time to do what they needed to do. He felt they deserved that, as friends. Very close friends, in fact. He had seen it even before their adventure months ago. It had just become more evident during their adventures. He put the tray of food together, making sure none of it would fall as he went to lift the still warm food when he suddenly felt a cold draft come from the main room. Jimmy put down the food and went over to the main room and looked to see that the window was still open. The outside was filled with darkness, still and quiet. Where were Martyn and Netty? How had the candles gone out? He was pretty sure they'd bought them this morning for this occasion. He squinted his eyes so he could try to get a better look at the situation. The shadows seemed to slip away quietly as he looked at what had happened. Everything was a mess. The table had been flipped over and the candles scattered and split in two. Table. The candle scattered and the candle split. Ugh. One of the chairs had apparently flown off into the trees. He tried to see if there was any signs of his friends. Should he go out there? He needed to make sure everything was alright. Girl, he hadn't heard them coming inside. The young man took a deep breath as he walked outside, looking around at the destruction that he couldn't quite explain. No normal wind would do this kind of thing in these parts. It could have been a tornado, but then they would have heard it. He would have heard it. They all would have. Tornadoes were pretty loud, weren't they? Yeah. Netty? Martyn? Jimmy called out loud, looking around as he looked behind the table and scanning the ground. The dim light of the stars overhead seemed to make it especially difficult as his eyes adjusted. Suddenly, his frantic thoughts were briefly interrupted when he heard a groan 5 feet away from him. He turned to see a form of someone lying on the cold, damp grass, stirring from unconsciousness. Jimmy ran over to see that it was Netty, her eyes slowly opening as he tried to shake her awake. What happened? She stuttered as she sat up, Jimmy sitting down next to her. I don't know, Jimmy admitted. I was in the kitchen when a cold draft came in from the main room. When I went to look outside, I couldn't see anything. She nodded slightly. She pulled herself into a hug. She looked around at the destruction that had been caused. Where's Martyn? I don't know, Jimmy sighed. I only found you in the midst of this mess. The dazed look on her face fell to dread and horror as she started to shake her head, tears forming in her eyes. No, please say that's not true. Please, she whispered softly. I looked everywhere. I couldn't find him, Jimmy said. Now I'm even more confused. What happened, Netty? She choked down a sob and shook her head. He's back. The man came back and he but I thought we destroyed him, Jimmy said. You saw the black light. You saved us. She said, his power source and body might be gone, but his cruel dark essence is still here. What's revenge, Jimmy? He wants me. And why did he take Martyn and not you? Jimmy asked, trying to piece everything together. Netty bit her bottom lip and sighed. You'll hurt him if I don't do it. Don't do what? The young man pressed. He wants me to surrender him. To give up myself completely so that he can continue to be the most powerful and creepiest being in the world. She swallowed. He wants me to be his puppet, replacement, his punishment for what I did. But you saved us. You stopped that man from hurting me. She nodded. He won't stop until he has me. I'm scared, Jimmy. I don't know what to do. Jimmy nodded as he pulled his friend into a hug, hearing her cries as he pulled her close, understanding her completely. He felt just as helpless and unsure of what he could do when she disappeared. Martyn probably had felt it most of all. We'll find him. We can get him back, Jimmy assured her. I won't rest until we do. Do you really think we can? She asked. It's not like we haven't done it before, Jimmy said with a smile, and she looked up at him. Finally, she pulled away from him as Jimmy watched her stand, taking a deep breath. She did so. Where do we begin? I honestly don't know, Jimmy admitted. We do have a way back to the world, but I don't know if it'll work. What was it? How did you manage to get there to find me? She asked, her voice frank and urgent. Jimmy hesitated. I don't even know if it'll work a second time. Please, we need to try it. We need to stop him before he tries to do anything, he insisted. The young man nodded and stood up. Follow me, then. He began to walk back to the cottage, hoping he would be able to remember where Martyn had put the pamphlet that they hadn't remembered to return to the library. Or how the librarian insisted that they kept it. He couldn't be so sure. Couldn't be sure. And he knew it had to be here. This was an evident emergency. Once they were in the house, he hesitated. Shouldn't we get dressed in proper clothes first? Jimmy, we don't have time for this, she insisted. I don't want to get our fancy clothes ruined like our last outfits. Wouldn't you agree? Jimmy asked, raising an eyebrow. She sighed. Give me 20 minutes to get ready then. Deal, Jimmy said, with a flash of a smile before going over to his room, knowing they would probably both be ready by half that. He didn't know how he knew. He just did. I'm Matt. All Martyn could see was darkness. He wasn't sure where he was, or how he'd gotten here. His eyes felt heavy, as if there was a pressure forcing them shut. He felt cold, numb, unsure of what he should feel at all. But he knew he would wake. His mind tried to wrap around the fuzzy memories that he tried to piece what had happened. Someone had crashed their party, literally, and threatened his friend. That creepy man had returned somehow. He'd attacked them. Where was Netty? Where was Netty? Had he taken her? Had he hurt her? What was going on? What had happened to him? Where was he now? Hello? Can anyone hear me? He called, but his voice was muffled as he felt a thick, dark cloud press against his lips, silencing him. Was this shadow somehow alive? Was he trapped inside of it? How could this be possible? He wasn't sure, so all he thought was for his friend, Netty. Where was she? Was she nearby? Netty? Martyn tried calling out again, groaning as he felt the dark cloud thicken, sucking up the air for a brief moment before relaxing. Still felt like he was trapped. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move. Don't try to struggle too much, a voice said within the shadow. She can't hear you anyway. What did you do to her? The young man snapped. Nothing. Yet, the man chuckled, giving her an impossible choice. She could live the rest of her life, leaving you here with me, or try to come after you. You hurt her, the young man warned. And the other voice laughed. Why would I harm her when I have you? Martyn swallowed. Where is she? Not here, the other man mused. No doubt she'll try to find you. She really cares. You know she does, Martyn pointed out. The man chuckled. I can't wait to see how this unfolds. Unfortunately for you, someone is bound to get hurt. Why don't you just leave her out of this? Martyn demanded. She's just as much a part of all of this as you are. And you're not afraid. Just because she isn't alone. Like you. I'm not alone, Martyn replied. To me, you are, the voice said with a cackle. Someone is going to lose something dear to them. You or her. It's up to your little friend to decide. What are you planning to do? Martyn asked. You'll see, the man said smuggling. Can you see? My shadows are far thicker now that I have taken some of her with me. Oh, gosh. What are you talking about? The young man snapped in horror. I thought you said you wouldn't hurt her. I haven't. I've only taken something from her. But something in its place. She won't be able to resist me forever. Full confidence of that. You're a monster, Martyn hissed. The man laughed. Fortunately, I am, in a way. Until my time has come. Then I'll be far more than anyone has ever feared. I'm scared of your petty threats, Martyn said defiantly. You will be when I'm done with you and your little friends. The man said darkly, before Martyn gasped sharply as pain erupted within him. His consciousness faded once again. He felt helpless, vulnerable. He tried to protect his friend, tried to make sure the man wouldn't hurt her. This time, he felt powerless to stop him. Oi, Netty. Colors. Netty stood in the middle of her room, gazing out of the window as her mind swarmed with doubt and uncertainty. She'd managed to get herself out of her dress and into a pair of jeans and a shirt. She had even replaced her fancy shoes with ones that would be for walking miles on end, which she had a sinking feeling would be something she would have to do. She closed her eyes as she tried to push back the dark thoughts that swarmed in her mind. The fear within her threatening to burst. A part of her wanted to cry, to scream, to do something. Martyn had been taken. Her friend had stepped in to try and protect her. But it hadn't been enough. How was she able to stop this man if friends couldn't? She bit her bottom lip as she opened her eyes again. Hearing the door open behind her, her spirits rose slightly as she turned, hoping to see Martyn standing there, safe and well. Instead, she found Jimmy watching her. Are you ready to go? Jimmy asked her, holding out a pamphlet in his hands. Where did you find that? She asked curiously, purposely not answering the question. She didn't feel ready at all. She was worried, scared, and unsure. Frightened all at once. She felt vulnerable, weak, compared to the power of that the man had shown. The man had the same hunger for power she'd remembered. I want to lean against the wall. Yes. There we go. Hello. The man had the same hunger for power as she'd remembered, even if he'd taken the form of one of his former victims. That thought sent a shudder through her. She could only imagine the pain and agony those poor people had gone through. She faced was the same. In a hidden compartment in the closet, Jimmy mused. Right by the key, you want a reference. You guys really thought of everything, she sighed, hating how sad her voice sounded. We had to, Jimmy said softly. We didn't want something like this to happen again. But it did. It's not over yet, Martyn said matter-of-factly. Martyn's strong. I'm sure she'll be fine. That man could be doing anything to him, Netty said. Right now, I don't feel anything that suggests he's gone. Don't you? Jimmy asked. Netty swallowed and closed her eyes, thinking about Martyn. She could feel a faint heart beating in her mind. No pain, no fear, but unease. Jimmy was right. He was still out there, somewhere, and they would find him. I can feel him, she whispered, softly as she opened her eyes. Jimmy grinned. I thought as much. Now, come on, we need to do this together. I hope this works. This works, she said under her breath as she went over to Jimmy as he showed her the pamphlet. He told her how it would work, making sure she was ready before they both read the words on the page. After they finished, a light exploded around them, engulfing them in a beam as she felt like she was being transported somewhere else. The feeling felt calm and peaceful, like a river gently leading them long before she and her friend landed in a grassy field surrounded by trees. She looked around in amazement, seeing scattered flowers around them as she looked in its beauty. Took in its beauty. But as she watched, she felt a sickening feeling deep inside, a cold whisper in her mind. Come to me, my dear. A voice whispered hoarsely. She bit her bottom lip. She pushed the thought aside, looking over to find Jimmy staring at her expectantly. So, which way is he? Jimmy asked it at last. You're asking me? She pondered curiously. You have a strong connection with him, Jimmy said. It was how he found you. He just pictured you in his mind and wished to be with you. Try it. You sure it'll work? She asked. I want her to attempt it, Jimmy said. She nodded and closed her eyes again, focusing on her friend's face, wishing with all of her heart to be with him. First, nothing happened. Suddenly, an image started to form. She saw that it was deep in the forest. The trees were tall and ancient. She could see a dark, shadowy spear surrounding something that was floating in the air. It wasn't just something. Someone. Martyn. She choked back a sob. You see him? Jimmy asked. Tears formed in her eyes as she saw a form step out of the shadows. A tall man in a suit of some kind. He looked nothing like the man she knew, but his image changed when he looked her way. Form falling from him as she saw a shadow looking back at her. His glowing yellow eyes peering deep into her own soul. I see you, Netty, the voice whispered again. The man smiled darkly. Come here. There's no need to be shy. Can you see me? She thought to herself. You and I are about the same. You can't escape your purpose, my dear. The man chuckled. Destiny is to be mine. No! She screamed as the man sent a shadow in her direction, covering her vision as she fell to the ground. Piercing screech in her mind, a broken record repeating itself over and over and over again. Your destiny is to be mine. You're mine. Netty, snap out of it! Jimmy shouted, and her eyes snapped open as she looked up to see that her friend was above her. The thoughts had faded into the shadows of her mind as she shook her with fear. I'm sorry, she whispered, shaking her head as she felt tears prickle the corner of her eyes. There's nothing to be sorry about, Jimmy assured her. What happened, though? What did you see? It's a trap, she said quietly. The man's waiting for me. He knows we're here. He knows we're coming. How? Jimmy asked. He must have done something to me when he attacked us, she said desperately. Some of that darkness must have seeped in. Now I can't get him out of my head. We won't let him take you, Jimmy said defiantly, holding out a hand for her to take. We can find a safe place for you to hide while I... No! I have to go, she said. I don't want him to hurt you. Or Martyn. He wants me to be there, so I will. Netty, Jimmy said with uncertainty. I'm stronger now, she replied. I've outsmarted him once before. I can do it again. Jimmy nodded. Please be careful. I will, she said as she took his hand and stood up, giving him a hug. I don't want to lose you too. Hey, we'll get out of this, you'll see, Jimmy said with a smile as he pulled away from her. Don't give up hope. Martyn needs our help right now. If we do this together, he won't stand a chance. That man won't stand a chance. She nodded, her head slowly. I hope you're right. I hope so too, Jimmy admitted with a small smile. You deserve better than this. We all do, she said. But it's an opportunity to stop that man for good. He won't get away from us again. Exactly, the young man said, and she smiled at him. She truly was grateful for him being there. She couldn't do this alone, and she needed him to make sure that man didn't win. He wouldn't take what he wanted. She just hoped it would be enough. Jimmy. They walked on for what felt like an eternity. They had gone for miles and miles into the woods, not stopping for anything. Jimmy couldn't help but notice Netty getting more and more anxious as they went along. She walked. Are we getting close? Jimmy asked her curiously. I think so, she said weakly, as she kept her eyes forward, not willing to stray away from her unseen target, even for a moment. They walked onward for a few more feet, and after each step, he felt uneasiness wash over him. Something wasn't right about this. We're not alone here, he told her, causing her to stop in her tracks. How do you know? She asked quietly. It's a warning from this, Jimmy said, fingering his golden noble as he snapped his fingers. A golden orb of light appeared in his hands. It illuminated the shadowy darkness, revealing 3 hidden figures attempting to surround them. We should have expected that your light would be especially sensitive to our darkness, a voice said from one of them. Jimmy watched as they stepped out. There were gems around their necks as well, but the colors had been muddled with black swirls. Corrupted. "What do you want?" Jimmy demanded, eyeing all of them carefully. "He wants to speak to her alone," one of them spoke, the tone firm and serious. "We cannot allow you to pass with her." "Netty isn't going anywhere with you," Jimmy said firmly. "Not unless I go too." "We suggest you do as we ask," said third person reply, "or you'll make things far worse for her." "Get out of our way," Jimmy said defiantly, "or I'll make you." "Jimmy, please," Netty pleaded quietly. "As you wish," the first figure said. Before he could reply to his friend, Jimmy watched in horror as the figures came towards them. As he flashed the light in their direction, one of them managed to dodge his attack and turn on Netty. Netty screamed as she went to pull up a shield, but nothing happened, as she was knocked to the ground. Jimmy whirled around and struck the figure with a beam of light, and the figure screamed and fell to the ground. "Jimmy, behind you!" Netty cried as she tried to send a surge of light, but the only thing that she could muster was a few crackles of purple light before it died. Oh dear. Jimmy whirled around and managed to blind his attacker, who shrieked in pain as he finished off the final pursuer until they were all knocked unconscious. Once he was sure they wouldn't wake up, he went over to his friend, who had managed to stumble to her feet. "What happened back there?" Jimmy asked. "Why couldn't you do anything?" "I don't know," Netty muttered quietly. She shook her head. Jimmy went over to her and suddenly noticed something different. "Netty," Jim pointed out, touching it with surprise. It wasn't the deep, sparkly purple color anymore. Darker, ominous. Swirls of black crawled around it, in a script on a beautiful color. Tears brimmed her eyes. She looked down at it. "He took it. He must have corrupted me." "No, of course he didn't," Jimmy snapped. "But," she protested with a sigh, "where's Martyn? Now this? He's taking everything from me." "He doesn't have you," the young man interjected. "You're what he wants. He can't have you." "I don't know," she tried. "You know who you really are," Jimmy replied. "You don't need supernatural power to stop him, Netty. Power isn't everything. You know that." "He's corrupting me, breaking me," she said quietly. "Every step I take, I can feel him calling me. He's getting stronger soon. I don't think I'll be able to fight it back." "You have me," Jimmy reminded her, pulling her into a hug. "We can do this together. He won't win. I know he won't let him." Netty nodded and sighed, finally pulling away. "Thank you, Jimmy, for being here for me." "Martyn would have done the same thing," Jimmy pointed out. "I know," she smiled sadly. "You two are one of the greatest things that have ever happened to me." "Then let's do this together," Jimmy said with confidence. "Together," she agreed. She turned towards where they would certainly find Martyn. Hopefully, it wouldn't be too late when they did. Martyn. The darkness surrounded him like a heavy blanket, his mind still and empty. He couldn't see anything or feel anything more than the shadows that crept around him. He was cold and numb. The silence felt unbearable. He didn't know whether or not he could do anything or even speak. His mind was too numb to try to do anything. But as he floated there, feeling nothing, he could hear the sound of footsteps around him. He wasn't alone, he knew that, but knowing that the man was nearby, waiting for his friend, sent chills through him. Only there was some way to warn her. I think she already knows, my friend. "Are you sure she's coming?" "Are you sure she's coming?" the man said. As the sound of his voice trailed towards him, another voice spoke, but it was garbled and muffled, with words he couldn't quite understand. But it caused the man to chuckle. Excellent. Is she with anyone by chance? The man strained to hear more. Martyn strained to hear more. Intrigued by the conversation that the man was taking on. He managed to hear a little more of the conversation in bits and pieces. Finally, he heard the man command the order to whoever he was talking to send a chill through the young man's spine. Make sure to separate them then. We can't have any distractions when she finally gets here, the voice said. What about the other one? What should we do with him? The other voice asked. Don't care what you do to him, so long as you make sure he doesn't come with her, the man said. We will do our best, the other person replied. As I should expect of you, the first voice growled. Don't disappoint me. We won't, sir, the other voice replied. Martyn listened to the footsteps fade away. A chill went through the young man's spine. He realized what was going on. The man obviously knew that Netty and Jimmy were coming, and he was trying to separate them. He needed to find a way to warn them, to try and stop the man before he hurt anyone else. What could he do? I know you're awake, the voice said slowly. But I believe it would be better for you if you weren't. Martyn swallowed, opening his mouth to try to say something, but he was unable to, as he felt a sweet aroma filling his nostrils. It felt tiring to his senses as he felt his body slump again, as his eyes grew heavy, shadows tightened around, concealing all the warmth to make it impossible for him to stay awake. But he had to do something. He needed to stay awake. He couldn't let this man win. He wouldn't let this man get away with this. Once he got out of here, he would make sure the man would regret it. Again, would he get out of here? Really? No. The man was planning something far more sinister for the three of them than he could ever imagine. He hoped his friends would be able to stop him before it was too late. If it wasn't too late already. Netty. She knew they were getting close. She could feel it deep down within her. Even if she couldn't exactly use her powers that came from the champ, there had to be a way to overcome it, to stop it before it took over. But so far, she was managing to keep back the whispers in her mind, telling her to give in to the darkness, to let it take over. She wouldn't let that man win, though. She couldn't give up yet. Not when they were so close.
You cannot save them without giving up their time. I promise it won't be painful.
She shook her head, trying to block out the voice, but it kept coming back with more and more. The voices echoed in her mind, threatening to pull her down to a place she desperately did not want to be. She needed to be stronger than this. She couldn't let this man get to her like this. We're getting close, she told Jimmy, hoping it would take her mind off the thoughts that were telling her what she could and could not do. She couldn't let them detect her life like this, but she felt too weak and vulnerable to do anything. How close? Jimmy asked hopefully. She could see that there was concern in his eyes. Clearly, he could see that something was wrong. But it wasn't going to stay. Not yet, at least. Really close, she said, forcing a smile as she said it, hoping it would make all of this at least a bit easier. It's getting stronger, isn't it? Jimmy said, more of a statement than a question. She swallowed and nodded. It is. He took her hand and squeezed it. Mind if I lend you a hand? I want her to try, she said with a smile. Before her mind was bathed with a golden light, causing all the shadows to flee into the darkness of her mind. It wouldn't last long, but it did give her mind a few moments of peace. You're stronger than he knows, Jimmy told her. He doesn't know you as well as he thinks he is. You can overcome him. I've seen you do it before. I had your help for that, though, she admitted. You have my help now, Jimmy added with a cheeky grin. And she nodded and died. Let's hope it's enough. It will be, Jimmy assured her, staying near the clearing. Netty squared her shoulders back as they approached, squeezing her friend's hand gently, not wanting to let go. They made it to the clearing, and she stepped into it, looking around quietly as she did so. She looked around the area quietly, not seeing any sign of the man nearby, but she did see something ahead, something that took her breath away. She let go of Jimmy's hand and ran towards a shadowy spear with Martyn trapped inside. His eyes were closed, but he did appear to be breathing. As she reached out and grabbed him, pulling him down as the shadows disappeared away, she held him in her arms. Is he? Jimmy asked. He's asleep, Netty assured him. The man didn't hurt him. That's good, Jimmy said, as she laid her sleeping friend on the ground. Should we try to go somewhere else, though? This seems awfully creepy. Can't use my power to protect anyone. You're the only one who can do that right now, she sighed. Besides, I don't think I could carry him that very far. Jimmy chuckled. You think your teleportation still works? I'm afraid to try it, she admitted. Not until I have my powers back. I'm not risking it. Jimmy nodded. I don't mind doing the heavy work, you know. Netty chuckled. I need both of you right now, especially if that man comes back. I don't believe I have to go very far to find you, my dear. A voice said from behind. She gasped as she turned to see the man walking towards her. It was the same man she'd seen in her vision. His dark brown hair pulled back to reveal dark eyes that glinted with hunger. He wasn't the same man she remembered, but he was the same in essence. What do you want with me? She demanded. I think you really Netty on that, Netty. The man chuckled. You've kept me from doing what needed to be done. So now you'll have no choice but to do as I say. I'll never follow you, she snapped. Don't you see that? All I see is a broken and helpless girl who needs some guidance, the man sneered. I've already taken your power from you. What won't stop me from taking your friends as well? Leave them out of this, she demanded. The man laughed. And let me have control, Netty. You know you want to. No, she said, gritting her teeth as she felt the prickle of pain in her mind. She was stronger than him. She couldn't beat her down. I don't think you'll be able to stop me this time, my dear. The man said, without anything to limit me from my true self. I can fight and do what needs to be done. You will be mine. Get out of my head! Netty shouted as the man smiled darkly. Dark shadows swarmed in her mind, squeezing and compressing all her thoughts. She tried to fight back, tried to do something to stop this. She was weak, vulnerable, nothing compared to the sheer raw power. Her power. Suddenly, she felt a soft yellow light attempt to break into her mind. Her heart leaped with hope as she realized Jimmy was trying to help. But the darkness seemed to swallow the light out as soon as it formed. There had to be something left in her, something that she could use. She stopped in her tracks. She heard a shout of alarm behind her. As she looked to see the man rising shadows out of the darkness, starting to surround them. She stood taller. She warily watched the shadows lurk around, waiting, watching, ready to strike. Just let me in, Netty. Just let me in, Netty, the man said. You have nothing left to fight with, and nothing without me. That's a complete and utter lie, she insisted, feeling anger in her voice. I don't need you, nor do I want you. You can't have me or my friends. You never will. You're going to stop me, the man asked, raising an eyebrow. There's always a way, she said defiantly, lifting her chin higher, hopefully hoping the man would see that she wouldn't stand down, but it only made the man chuckle.
You can't escape me, my dear.
No matter how hard you try, the man mused. She watched in horror as the shadows hurtled toward them. Suddenly, a golden force field shot up, blocking the shadows momentarily as they attempted to pound their way in. She looked down to see Jimmy sitting beside a still unconscious Martyn, concentrating hard on what he was doing. She needed to act fast if they had any chance to get out of this. But before she could do so, a shadow burst through the force field and hurtled towards her. She attempted to pull up her own shield, but the shadow only wrapped around her, sinking itself through her. "Netty!" Jimmy shouted, as she felt the cold entity fill her. She shuddered, falling to her knees in pain. She tried to fight back, tried to keep it from seeping in, but she couldn't. She was trapped, alone, and frightened. She wasn't alone. She had her friends. The man couldn't win. He wouldn't.
Come to me, my dear.
The man said coldly. She watched in horror as her feet struggled to stand. As she rose and began to walk towards him, she couldn't control it. She was forced to do his bidding. Forced to be his puppet. "Snap out of it, Netty!" Jimmy shouted. "I can't," she heard herself whisper in her mind. Not sure what else she could do. Her lips wouldn't move. Everything was moving on its own. She had to fight it. Had to stop this from happening. But there was nothing she could do. "Yeah." The man said with a cold, wicked grin as she watched in helpless horror as the sky faded, showing the shadow monster he was inside. Hunger for power. He reached for the gem around her neck as he yanked it off her, snapping the cord. She was unable to fight back as she looked at it attentively before rubbing it with a smile. "You have no need for this now that I have full control," the man said as he tossed it to the ground, holding out a hand. "Don't do it, Netty!" Jimmy shouted again, but she could hardly hear him. There was a dark laughter that formed in her mind. Maybe there was a part of her that still remained. But for all she knew, she was gone. Lost, defeated, just like all the victims before her. "They're still here. Help!" Her thoughts seemed to shout, directing itself to her friends, hoping, praying they would hear. But her mind was instantly shut down. The man grabbed her, and they disappeared into the trees, leaving her friends behind. Jimmy. "I'm still here. Help me." Those were the last words Jimmy had heard before he watched his friend disappear into the shadows. The man had taken her, but a part of her was still in there, somewhere. Still, shock was evident as he felt a sickening feeling within him. The man had done something to her, taken her away, and was planning to do something unimaginable. He had to do something. He needed to do something. Suddenly, his thoughts were interrupted when he heard a groan beside him. He looked over to see that Martyn was stirring beside him. Jimmy swallowed, looking around nervously as he wondered what he was going to say to his friend. He felt tired but energized, but he needed to tell Martyn what had happened. "Martyn?" Jimmy asked. The young man opened his eyes and looked up to meet his deep brown eyes. "Yeah, that's me," Martyn said with a small smile. "You made it." Yeah, Jimmy said with a sigh as he shook his head. But the man did something to Netty and took her away. Where? What happened? What did he do to her? Martyn said, sitting up instinctively. It was something that did not surprise Jimmy in the slightest. The young man took the time to explain what had happened from the moment he found Netty alone to the present moment in his hand. He didn't leave anything out, shivering when he described what the man had done. She's still in there, is she? Martyn asked. I believe so, Jimmy said. I heard her crying for help in her thoughts before I lost connection. Do you still feel her? Martyn hesitated and closed his eyes before he nodded. It's weak, but I can feel her. Jimmy smiled. Do you think we can get her back? We have to. That man can't have her, Martyn said defiantly. Jimmy nodded as he stood up. Martyn following behind, though he stumbled slightly as he did so. You all right? Jimmy asked. I'm fine. Just a little unsteady, Martyn said. Well, that man only kept me as a prisoner. He wanted to use me to get to her. He hasn't won yet, Jimmy assured him. We'll find a way to stop him. From what? From what you described. He sounded powerful, Martyn said nervously. Power means nothing when it's up against friendship, Jimmy said confidently. You saw what Netty did the last time. She practically saved my life. I don't think I'll ever forget that, Martyn said with a smile. And I know a part of that is still there. She cares about us, just as we do about her. Come on, then. We don't have much time to lose, Jimmy said matter-of-factly. How much time do we have? Martyn asked. Not much, I reckon, Jimmy sighed. Martyn nodded as he walked over to pick up the gem that the man had tossed aside. It glittered purple in the mid-light that peeked through. The shadows within it were gone. It was pure and whole. Lead the way, then, Martyn said matter-of-factly. The expression on his face was that of full determination as he tucked the gem safely in his pocket. They weren't going to let one creepy man take their friend, even if it was the last thing they did, which most likely could be the case. Martyn followed Jimmy through the forest, his eyes gazing around alertly to ensure that no one was attempting to ambush them. So far, everything seemed clear, and yet he couldn't help but recall what Jimmy had told him. The idea of his dear friend being forced to do someone else's bidding was horrifying. The man had tried to take everything from her, to make her feel like she had nothing, that she was nothing. The thought sent shivers through him, as he could feel deep down that she was in danger. If they didn't do something soon, she could be lost forever. We have to be close, Martyn insisted, for the 30th time in a row, imaging her in his mind as he tried to reach out to her, like he'd done before when the man had attacked them when they first rescued her. We're coming, his mind whispered, wondering if she would be able to hear him. But there was silence, no feeling of relief, only the faint growing fear he felt. They didn't have much time. Is it me, or are the trees getting darker to you? Jimmy asked nervously. Martyn looked around carefully, trying to see what his friend was trying to get at. They appeared to be moving shadows, Martyn noted. Hope filled him as he looked ahead, quickening his pace. They surely had to be close now. As they neared the edge of the forest, Martyn could see two figures ahead, standing in the field. One of them had their arms raised up, while the other seemed to be telling them what to do. You have to really mean it, my dear. Otherwise it won't work, the man snapped harshly, and the figure beside began to shake their head slowly. He knew who it was, without doubt. Netty! Martyn shouted as he ran toward the man and his friend. He could see the man scowl as he whispered some words to her. "Oh," her voice choked out as she turned around, tears forming in her eyes as the man smiled coldly. "Do it, God. I'll do it myself," the man said sharply. "Let her go," Jimmy demanded, standing beside Martyn with a spark of rage in his eyes. "She's mine now," the man cackled. "She's lost to you." "Liar," Jimmy snapped as he glanced at Martyn. "I'll take care of him. Go get Netty." "Are you sure about this?" Martyn asked. "Anyone can do anything to you," Jimmy said with a casual wink before tearing after the man. A golden spear hurtling toward the man's head. Martyn swallowed and nodded, looking over to where his friend stood. Her eyes distant but afraid. She lifted her arms. Dark swirls formed. "Please, please, no," she begged quietly as Martyn began walking towards her. He held up his hand, and a green force field shot up when a beam of dark energy blasted towards him. "I know you're in there, Netty," he said softly, blocking another beam as he came closer. "Please, stop," she begged, more tears falling. "I don't want to hurt you." "You won't. Just trust me," Martyn said, as he drew closer until he was close enough to lower her arms down. Fear was etched in her face as he leaned towards her. "Please," she whispered softly, stifling back a sob. "I'm here now," he told her gently. "I love you." I love you too," she stuttered softly, tears streaming down her cheeks. Martyn smiled as he bent down and went for a kiss. She didn't pull away, didn't bite back. He could feel her arms wrap around him in an embrace. She melted in as they stood there for what felt like eternity. Couldn't imagine anything so perfect. "Wonderful." Finally, he pulled away from her and could see her looking up at him with a sad smile on her face. "I'm glad you're okay," she whispered softly. "Me too," Martyn nodded as he pulled out the gem from his pocket. "I think this is yours. It looks good as new," she said in wonder as he tied the gem around her neck. "Does," Jimmy agreed. She nodded as she wiped the tears from her eyes. "I was so scared back there. I felt so vulnerable and alone. That man had complete control over me. When I saw you two running towards us..." "You're safe now," Martyn assured her. She shook her head and smiled. "Not quite yet." Intrigued, Martyn watched as she turned towards the man who was fighting against Jimmy. The shadow looked up in surprise when he saw her approach. "What are you doing? Stop them, girl! Do as I say!" the shadow demanded. She shook her head and smiled. "You're listening to me, and you've done enough. You're done." "No! No! You can't do this!" the man said as he tried to run. But Netty extended her arm, and a purple beam snatched him and bound him to the ground. The shadow screamed in pain as he tried to escape, growing smaller and smaller each time. "Martyn? Jimmy? Care to lend me a hand?" she asked simply, her tone calm and confident. "What do you need us to do?" Jimmy asked quickly, standing beside her in an instant. Martyn went to stand on the opposite side, waiting for her command. "Keep him pinned so he can't get away," she said with a smile, as the shadow shrieked in protest. "No, you don't understand, Netty. You need me. You're powerless without me," the shadow shouted. There we go. The shadow shouted as Martyn jammed shot beams of light at the figure, pinning him down, and the lights mixed together to create a bright white beam that pinned him to the ground. "I have everything I need. You certainly aren't one of them," she said matter-of-factly, before forming a perfectly round purple orb, giving it a good spin before blowing it gently towards the man. She watched in satisfaction as the light exploded over the figure. The man screamed one last time before even his power-hungry essence faded away. "We did it?" Jimmy asked with uncertainty. The light faded and all they saw was ash. Netty nodded. She looked over at Martyn. "Martyn, whose hearts you have to beat?" Their eyes met. "We did it. This time, for good," she replied. "Though there are probably more forces that are out there that could try to cause us trouble sometime in the future." Martyn nodded and wrapped an arm around her. "We won't let them win." "Yeah, you're definitely right. You definitely showed him," Jimmy said with a laugh. A smug smile that was on his face. "Told you could do it," Netty laughed. Lingering laugh reached the sky. Martyn couldn't believe how far they'd come. But they'd done it, and for that he was eternally grateful. "Why don't we head home?" Martyn suggested thoughtfully. We all must be exhausted after all that." "That's a better idea," Netty suggested. "There has to be a town or city nearby. We should explore a little bit, find people, and put their worries to rest if they need to." "You're up to it," Martyn said. "Yeah," she replied, with a smile, a knowing glint in her eye as she started walking southward, casually tossing her brown hair back as she did so, and gestured for them to follow. And that they did, for however long they needed to. Netty. "Almost there. We're almost there." Netty walked ahead for no move. Nor why did these things happen? Netty walked ahead for no more than 5 minutes before she could see the start of a town nearby. It wasn't incredibly large, but it looked cozy and welcoming. The homes were all on one floor. Their small roofs looked adorable with the dark brown of the walls of the houses. A few of them were made of stone bricks, but they all looked small, cute, and adorable. Definitely something to expect from a beautiful world such as this one. It was hard to imagine how all of it could have been completely destroyed if she hadn't hesitated for so long. She knew what the men had been trying to do, and she surely did try to fight it. She'd known it was wrong, and now everyone she knew and cared about was safe. That gave her every right to help more people. As she neared the town with her friends, not too far behind, she could see people stopping what they were doing and watching her. Some even came out of their houses to get a better look. She only stopped when she was at the edge of the town, unsure if she should continue. "Welcome, welcome," an elderly voice called to them, and Netty turned her head to see a sweet old woman coming towards them. Coming over to Netty and grabbing her hand gently as she shook it. "It's good to see you. Sorry for my state. For the what? Sorry for the states. Are you kidding me? That's supposed to be stairs." What is Grammarly doing? What is Grammarly doing? Somebody tell me what Grammarly's doing these days. "But we rarely see visitors around here, you know," she chuckled. "Come now. You look like you three. We get something to eat. Follow me. I'm sure we can find something for you." Thank you, ma'am, Netty said politely, as she glanced over at her friends as she flushed as well. My name's Netty, and these are my two friends, Martyn and Jimmy. The pleasure is mine, Netty, Martyn, and Jimmy, the elderly woman replied, with a wink, as she led the three of them over to the shop where there was someone waiting. Netty didn't have the heart to correct the woman after she knew they were all welcome here. What would you like? The salesman asked, gesturing for the variety of sweets that lay before them. Anything you're interested in? Well, Nettie said softly. I think I'll have this one, she said, pointing to one of the candies that she knew she would like. Martyn and Jamie quickly chose their choices, and the salesperson rubbered up and handed the treats over. However, when the woman went to pay, the man declined. It's on the house, just for these guests. As you wish, the elderly woman said, cheerfully. Though you're going to find a few. I'll need to pay for your rent, she said with a sweet smile before adding, Come now, let me show you around. I'm sure you'll find something you might like. Well, we can't really stay for long, Jimmy said slowly. We need to get home soon. I'm sure that can wait till morning, Timmy, she said calmly. You need this rest after all. You really do take care of the people around here, don't you? Nettie asked, as she kept in pace with the charming woman. I have to. Ever since my husband went off to deal with the dangers out there, I had no choice but to make sure people here were happy and comfortable, she replied. It has been over 30 years now, and I still miss him. I'm sure you do, Teddy agreed. Could you tell us what kind of danger this was? Well, back then we had problems with our gems, you see, she said, fingering a white crystal around her neck. Some of the power was starting to be drained from them. My husband went to see if he could stop it, but he hasn't returned. That's sad, Jimmy said quietly. Has there been any difficulty with gems recently? Not until today, no, she said with a shrug. Our gems are like our life force. Without them, we're nothing, she chuckled. We're still different compared to you, I reckon. You're from another world? How'd you guess? Martyn asked with surprise. I see it in your aura. You're different, powerful, she replied, nodding with what looked to be respect. Well, I can assure you that the biggest danger is gone now, Nettie said. I don't know if more will follow, but we'll come back again if we need to. So you're the heroes my husband kept referring to, she declared with excitement. That makes so much more sense now. Does? Jimmy asked curiously. Yes, it does, Timmy, she said with a happy smile. The prophecy was meant to be fulfilled, and it has been. Really? Nettie asked. I thought it was fulfilled months ago. Correct, the elderly woman said. I saw the light, the overcoming of darkness, the risk, the fear, the triumph. I saw it all. How were we able to get home last time? Jimmy asked. Your time wasn't ready, the elder woman said. You did what was needed. It truly saved us from our ruthless evil. I'm glad we could be of help, he replied. Yes, you were of help, she said excitedly. Thank you very much, my darlings, every one of you. Now my husband can finally come home, or at least rest in peace. If we see him, we'll let you know, Jimmy said. Tell him I sent for him, she said firmly. My name is Samantha. Samantha, Martyn pondered before he nodded. We could do that. We really do need to get going now, Nettie insisted. We'll come back for a visit. You'll promise? Samantha asked slowly. I promise, he replied. Good. I know you'll keep that promise, the woman said, with a chuckle before patting Nettie's hand with a grin. Tell my Jackson I said hello. We will, Nettie replied as she waved, noticing the look of surprise on Martyn's face before they headed off out of the town. Now they could go home after they found this person named Jackson, whoever he was. Again, Martyn hinted hinted that he already knew who it was. I wonder who could it be? Chicks. Jimmy followed his friends as he headed towards the trees, walking in a familiar direction that caused him to ponder what they were doing. Martyn was leading them ahead, saying he had a feeling he knew where he could find this person called Jackson. Jimmy wondered how he could possibly know who this person even was. Had they been approached by him at some point? Had he been approached by him at some point? Or was he hiding something they didn't quite connect yet? The idea of not knowing really was getting to him. He had to know. He couldn't just continue walking and let the suspense continue. So, how do you know Jackson? Jimmy asked Martyn at last. The only person I know of who could fit it is John. Martyn said with a chuckle. You'll see. Come on, don't leave me hanging, Jimmy said. Won't you tell Netty? I have a theory to who it is too, Netty mused. I'm not gonna spoil it for you either. Spell it for you either. Come on, guys, Jimmy said, shaking his head. Kidding. You two are seriously perfect for each other. Martyn laughed. You realize that now? I already saw it coming before you two did. Jimmy snapped. You just don't believe me. Don't worry, Jimmy. It's not a huge secret anyway, Netty said. I'm sure Jackson will be able to explain everything. Jimmy sighed. Fine. Be that way. They continued on until they came to a meadow of flowers, with the trees near the edge. Jimmy watched as Martyn looked around and looked back to the two of them. Do you remember this place? Like it happened yesterday, Netty said with a nod. It truly is beautiful. I know, Martyn nodded with a smile as he looked over to the trees. I remember the first time I met John. He came right through those trees and chatted with us about prophecies and how to use our powers. Yeah, and he was awfully vague about it too, Jimmy pointed out. It did come in handy though, Martyn added. And then he trained with us until we finally defeated that man the first time. Yeah, Jimmy nodded. Kinda sad we didn't get to see him at all this time. Oh, but I believe I have seen news about yours. A voice said within the forest, causing Jimmy to jump. Is the window open? Or is it just, vent? He turned to see John walking out of the forest, with a cheeky grin on his face, fingering his sapphire gem, which seemed to glow even brighter with a ghostly gleam. You three did well. I'm proud of what you three have achieved. You could have helped us, Jimmy insisted bitterly. John chuckled and shook his head. It was better this way. It created a stronger bond between the three of you. You have no need to depend on little old me for help. You do have a point, Martyn agreed. He looked over at his friends and grinned. May I present to you, Jackson? Wait, what? Jimmy asked in surprise. He is not wrong, John, or Jackson said with a wink. I suppose my wife has told you a lot about me. I'm surprised you didn't see the connection right away. I thought it was some other guy, Jimmy muttered sheepishly. So did I, mostly, he admitted, until Samantha mentioned your name. I saw the surprised look on Martyn's face and suspected he knew. Yeah, he just didn't feel right to use his name at the time, Martyn said sheepishly. Well, you all know the truth now, Jackson said, with a slight grin. Which means I can rest at last. I thought you'd be going home, Jimmy pointed out. I have, just not in the way you're thinking, Jackson said with a wink. You best be going home. My wife will let you know if there's any help in the future there ever is anything. I'm sure she will, Netty said with a smile. Really going to miss you. We all are. And yet, you were the one that was most suspicious and unsure about me, Jackson told him gently. You had every reason to be unsure. Do you see now that it was okay? I do. She nodded. Netty nodded. You really helped us. We were all so new. You still have a lot to learn, but I'm sure my people can help you if you ever need some training, Jackson replied. So I know the strongest of training will come from the three of you working together. You saw that today. That kind of power will only grow with time. Thank you, Jackson, for everything, Jimmy said sincerely. Still, you'll always be a John to me. Jackson laughed. I can be many things, my boy, but it all comes down to knowing when your time is done. And this is mine, passing the torch from one generation to another. Farewell, friends, and take care. Take care, Martyn said, with a nod, as Jackson walked back to the forest, disappearing from sight before he even reached the tree line. Wait a minute, did he just? Jimmy said, in surprise. You guys saw that, right? At least he's in peace now, Netty said, sending a shiver through the young man's spine. Oh, it does feel odd to have been talking to someone who's been gone a few years. Please don't remind me, Jimmy groaned. That was the scariest thing I've ever seen. I've seen scarier, Netty told him. I think now's a good time to go home. We all deserve it. But what about that party? Jimmy asked eagerly. I smiled. Sometimes the best parties are the ones with just us friends. Having fun, happy, and safe. I agree, Martyn said, and he smiled at her. I think the portal should be this way, he said as he pointed. How do you remember all of this? Jimmy asked in surprise. I don't know, Timmy, I just do. Martyn said with a wink. Hey! Only Samantha can call me that! Jimmy hollered, causing both Netty and Martyn to burst out laughing. Pretty soon they were all laughing. As they arrived at the portal, ready to arrive home and enjoy whatever time they would have together. After all, they didn't truly know how long it would last before this strange world would need their help again. But they would be ready when the time came. That was something Jimmy knew for a fact, as he slipped through the portal, leaving the beautiful world behind, knowing he wouldn't be alone, making more jokes with his friends in the meantime. That was more than enough, and he would have it no other way. Well, we finally finished the story. My throat is so ticklish. Yeah, basically I was just reading to myself the whole time. Oh well. People can watch back. It doesn't matter. It's just me reading a story and enjoying myself. It's always fun to do that kind of thing. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, I hope you all have a magnificent day. Apparently, Stimpy's streaming right now. And yeah, Stimpy is streaming right now. Other than that, thank you all so much for watching. And yeah, also note that the next chapter in the Clockwork Plan will be out tomorrow as of recording this. And it will be out tomorrow. So, for chapter 5, because it's a longer chapter, and I did not want to spend most of the stream reading one chapter. Yeah, it's about 40 minutes long. Technically 39, but 40 minutes long. So yeah. It's a longer one because it's got more stuff in it. But yeah. I'll be reading chapters 6 through whatever, soon. I don't know when. Whenever I feel like it, I guess. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!